I was so confused for weeks.
No wire work was needed while we were shooting.
That's a lot of pressure.
Playing around with the lifts, I remember in my head I would just be thinking, don't drop Emma, please don't drop Emma.
No, what is going on? She was like, oh, we switch bodies. And I freaked out because
Jenna Ortega and Emma Myers were forced to follow strict rules in Wednesday Season 2. Rules so extreme, they pushed the cast to their breaking point. And for Emma Myers, it got so hard and dangerous that she almost quit the show entirely.
What?
Stay until the end, because what Emma went through will shock you. But she wasn't the only one. Owen Painter tortured his body to become a zombie, Hunter Dan chained himself at home to prepare for captivity, and Evie Templeton drowned in madness just to bring Agnes to life. Every actor had to suffer, but Emma's story is by far the most brutal. The big ball gown dance looks magical on screen. Sparkling gowns, flawless moves, and gothic elegance. But the truth?
No wire work was needed while we were shooting.
It was pure torture. The strict rule. No music, not even a melody to guide them. Just a cold drum beat echoing in their heads.
We weren't even allowed to hear it. We could only dance to like the drum beat.
And those costumes, heavy gowns that suffocated every step, clinging to their skin and dragging them down with every move. Evie Templeton and Emma Myers had to rehearse like this for 2 full days before cameras even rolled, pushing through exhaustion to make the scene look effortless. When filming finally began, the nightmare only grew. Emma was rigged into the air, suspended on wires, while Evie had to lift her again and again.
Playing around with the lifts, I remember in my head I would just be thinking, don't drop Emma, please don't drop Emma.
With every take, one thought hammered in Evie's mind. Don't drop Emma. Don't drop Emma. The pressure wasn't just physical, it was mental torture. Knowing one slip could ruin the entire scene, or worse, injure her co-star. But here's the thing. As brutal as this dance was, it wasn't Emma's hardest moment. What came later nearly broke her, and that reveal is waiting for you at the very end of this video. But before we get there, Evie Templeton's entire life behind the role was already harder than anyone expected. Evie wasn't just acting, she was living 2 completely different lives at the same time. By day, she was still a student, homework, schoolwork, and the pressure of keeping up with her classes. But by night, she transformed into a gothic prodigy on the Wednesday set, following strict rules that demanded everything from her. One of the hardest rules, training her eyes to mimic Wednesday's piercing stare. That cold, unblinking intensity Tim Burton insisted had to be perfect. She had to rehearse it again and again until it became second nature. On top of that, Evie was constantly flying back and forth between Ireland and home, juggling family life, school, and filming. While other kids her age were stressing over exams, she was stressing over whether she could survive Burton's impossible expectations. This wasn't just a role, it was a double life. A teenager forced to grow up overnight, trying to balance her normal world with the gothic, demanding world of Wednesday. And while Evie was being stretched thin between 2 worlds, another actor was being crushed into one. Owen Painter wasn't allowed to prepare like a normal actor.
Yeah, we spent weeks on that thing.
He had to live as Slurp, the zombie, every single day, months before cameras even rolled. The rule was clear. If he wanted to play a corpse that had just come back to life, he couldn't just study it, he had to become it. So in his own apartment, Owen threw himself on the floor again and again, slamming into walls, collapsing in heaps, and dragging his body across the ground like his nervous system was shutting down. He twisted his body until his joints strained and his muscles ached, forcing himself to move in ways no human should. Neighbors could hear the thuds and crashes through the walls and thought he was losing his mind. But Owen didn't stop. He couldn't. Day after day, he kept flopping, stumbling, and breaking himself down until every movement felt real. Even when filming was still months away, Owen stayed locked in character. He didn't want to act like a zombie. He wanted his body to forget how to be human. And just when you thought that was extreme, the rules got even worse. He didn't just practice throwing himself around. He pushed his body to breaking point.
To practice that, I was walking around Dublin, punching myself in the face.
He bent his limbs until they screamed with pain, twisting his joints into unnatural angles to mimic a corpse that shouldn't even be walking. Every rehearsal left him sore, bruised, and exhausted.
And then I noticed I was like walking around being like, oh.
But the rules demanded he keep going. And when filming started, the suffering doubled. Every morning, Owen was forced into a 4-hour makeup chair where prosthetics were glued to his skin, layer after layer, until he disappeared under rotting flesh. Once the transformation was complete, there was no escape. The rule was strict. He had to stay in that zombie skin until the entire day's work was done. No breaks, no removing it between takes. He was trapped in that decaying body from sunrise until the last camera shut down. The weight of the prosthetics made it hard to move. The glue pulled at his skin, sweat and heat built up underneath, and he had to carry it all while stumbling like a half-dead monster. It wasn't just acting, it was suffering disguised as performance. The only upside? A surreal one. While still in full zombie prosthetics, Owen actually met Lady Gaga on set. Imagine shaking hands with a global superstar while you look like the undead, the strangest, darkest highlight of his nightmare. But while Owen was breaking his body under layers of makeup and bone-cracking stunts, Hunter Doohan was breaking his mind. Hunter Doohan couldn't just show up and act like Tyler. The rules for him were harsh, physical, and relentless. To play a character trapped in a psychiatric hospital, Hunter chained himself up in his own apartment, rehearsing captivity until it felt disturbingly natural.
Chained up and sweaty instead of just behind the coffee counter.
He sat bound for hours, forcing himself to imagine the frustration, the helplessness, and the rage that Tyler would feel in those scenes. And the physical prep didn't stop there. To give Tyler the feral, stripped-down look that fans couldn't ignore, Hunter had to completely transform his body. He spent countless hours in the gym, bulking up and cutting down until his shirtless scenes would draw immediate attention, even when his character was tied and chained. The rules demanded more than just looking fit. He had to look like an animal in a cage. Powerful but restrained, ready to break free at any moment. It wasn't just about muscle, it was about the intimidation factor, the idea that even when Tyler was chained down, people would still fear what he was capable of. And Hunter took that demand seriously. He ate, trained, and lived with one purpose: to build a body that spoke before his character ever opened his mouth. But the rules didn't just want muscles, they wanted something darker. Building muscle wasn't enough for Hunter Doohan. The rules didn't just want a strong body, they wanted a monster. To pull it off, Hunter had to strip away his humanity and train himself to think and move like something wild. He started pacing like a predator in a cage, forcing himself into restless, jerky rhythms. He practiced snarling, baring his teeth, and throwing his weight around the room until it felt instinctive. He would lunge suddenly, slam against imaginary restraints, and thrash, as if he could rip free at any second. The goal wasn't to look intimidating, it was to become intimidating, to channel raw animal energy no human could fake. Hunter admitted he couldn't throw people across a room in real life, but that didn't matter. The rules demanded that he look like he could. That meant rehearsing violent movements until his body believed it was capable of impossible strength. Day after day, he trained himself into a state of controlled madness, where he stopped feeling like Tyler the human and started believing he was Tyler the beast. By the time filming began, Hunter wasn't just playing a chained-up prisoner, he was a caged predator ready to strike. And that's exactly what the rules wanted. But while Hunter was being pushed to lose his humanity, Evie Templeton was being forced to lose her sanity.
Jenna and Emma, which was very, very fun, very, very scary.
Evie Templeton didn't just prepare for Agnes. She submerged herself so deeply into the role that it nearly consumed her. She kept handwritten journals, not as herself, but in Agnes's voice.
I sort of started by creating a mood board just to build a framework of who Agnes was as a character.
Filling pages with dark thoughts, notes on character origins, and imaginary backstories. Every time she picked up the pen, it was like stepping further into Agnes's mind, until the line between actor and character began to blur.
Ouch.
She went even further by choosing a specific perfume, worn only when she was Agnes. The scent followed her everywhere on set, creeping into her senses until she couldn't separate the character's presence from her own.
She's so good. She's such a strong performer.
It was a ritual, a way to trick her brain into believing she wasn't Eevee anymore. But the rules demanded more. She was ordered to binge classic films about madness, studying Jack Nicholson's performance in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, pulling inspiration from Nicole Kidman in The Hours, and watching every performance she could find that captured instability, obsession, and chaos. She didn't just watch them, she lived them, memorizing tiny details and channeling them until Agnes felt terrifyingly real. To lock it in, Eevee built gothic mood boards filled with disturbing imagery. Wigs, roses, sketches, a toy knife, even scrawled notes that looked like they belonged in a haunted diary. Every object became a portal into Agnes's world. She surrounded herself with these props until her off-screen life was dripping with the same darkness as the one she played on camera. The deeper she went, the harder it was to climb back out.
Probably one of the most talented young actors that I've ever worked with.
Evie wasn't just acting, she was drowning inside Agnes piece by piece. But nothing compares to what Emma Myers faced, because her rule wasn't preparation, it was betrayal. Emma Myers went into season 2 thinking she knew exactly who she was. She was Enid, bright, bubbly, the perfect opposite of Wednesday's cold darkness. She was ready to bring that energy back to the screen, but then the rules hit her with the biggest betrayal of all. With no warning, crew members casually mentioned, "When you're Wednesday," and Emma froze. What did they mean? She wasn't Wednesday, she was Enid. But the truth came crashing down. The showrunners expected her to become Wednesday in one of the season's most important sequences. And the cruelest part? No one had bothered to tell her directly. She found out through whispers, fittings, and makeup tests. When it finally sunk in, Emma had only 30 days. 30 days to transform into one of the most iconic characters on television. No gradual training, no months of fencing lessons or cello practice like Jenna had in season 1, just 1 month of pressure so heavy, it nearly broke her. Emma admitted she cried when she realized what was being asked of her. She wasn't crushed by the acting itself. She's talented enough to carry it. She was crushed by the betrayal of being told too late, stripped of the preparation time that every actor deserves. It wasn't just a challenge, it was emotional sabotage dressed up as direction. And the cruel twist? Jenna Ortega, the real Wednesday, had the exact opposite experience. Jenna was informed, prepared, and given months of training in advance. Emma, on the other hand, was blindsided, forced to jump into the storm with no warning, and somehow still survive. Not everyone on set was blindsided like Emma. Jenna Ortega had already paid her price in season 1. She'd mastered fencing, cello, archery, and every icy quirk that made Wednesday unforgettable. By the time season 2 arrived, Jenna was ready. She could relax into the role, building on the foundation she'd already carved out through months of grueling prep the year before. But while Jenna was steady, Isaac Ordonez, who played Pugsley, was thrown into his own set of strict rules. He was drilled relentlessly by Luis Guzman, who played his father. Luis demanded precision, forcing Isaac to learn how to hit his camera marks without ever looking down. It wasn't easy. Crew members would move the marks around when Isaac wasn't looking, and he had to find his place perfectly every time. One wrong step and the shot would be ruined. It was like training under a strict mentor, turning camera work into a battlefield where Isaac couldn't afford to blink. And then there was Catherine Zeta-Jones, stepping into the shadow of Morticia Addams. Her task wasn't about stunts or body transformations, it was about emotions. She was ordered to embody 2 completely different mother-daughter relationships at once. One with Wednesday, cold and sharp, the other with her own mother, Grandmama Hester, warm but strained. Neither dynamic reflected Catherine's real life, but she had to make both feel painfully true. It meant tearing herself away from reality and building relationships out of nothing but craft and imagination. These challenges may not have been as loud as Owen's zombie flops, or as dangerous as Hunter's beast training, or as cruel as Emma's betrayal, but they carried their own quiet weight. Each demanded total commitment, precision, and truth under impossible conditions. And when you put it all together, the truth is brutal. Every single cast member was pushed, tested, and stretched to their limit, whether through body, mind, or heart. Every cast member was pushed past comfort. Owen broke his body. Hunter became a beast. Evie drowned in madness. Emma was betrayed. Jenna was spared, but only because her suffering came earlier. And Catherine had to fake emotions that weren't hers at all. Wednesday season 2 may look like gothic beauty on screen, but behind the camera, it was built on pain, obsession, and rules so strict they could destroy careers. Now here's my question for you. Who do you think had it the worst? Owen, Hunter, Evie, Emma, Jenna, Isaac, or Catherine? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And don't forget, you'll have insane luck if you like and subscribe before this video ends. Only here at GossipSlice. Now you can leave. See you on the next one.